Beautiful.
Alrighty, let us move on to rival rankings.
Got a long list to reorder. We might agree in ways. 'Cause we're gonna rank things, baby, based on our faves.
We got 9 films in the Skywalker Saga. Essentially, Mr. Boylan and I are going to compare how they stack up. It'll be me up top in blue and Boylan down bottom in green like this.
He's looking like Anakin from Attack of the Clones with the blue and green.
But where will that rank on your list? That is the question. So
low.
would you like to tell me what is your number 9 position?
Yeah, so my bottom spot goes to The Last Jedi.
Hey!
So...
we're already splitting the crowd.
Yeah, so the second sequel, and a film that... The conversation around this film was very interesting because it's like, at the time, was quite harshly panned for being quite different, and then it got cool to like The Last Jedi. I don't feel strongly about it either way, but I feel strongly enough that I don't like it compared to every other Star Wars movie, particularly the sequels, because like none of the sequels I like the whole film. So a lot of the time I need to like, okay, cool, how does this film connect with the other sequels in creating like a good narrative? And this one doesn't, like at all. Like Rian Johnson went completely rogue. I feel sometimes bad for kids who have grown up with this being their Star Wars.
That's a bit dramatic.
I am, but like, that's fine. But I mean, I talk at length at how really, why I love Star Wars is the fact that this is a franchise that my parents showed me because it was a film that they watched when they were younger. I grew up with the prequels, and then people who have a younger generation are growing up with these sequels. And I think that's fantastic. It's just The Last Jedi, I find it doesn't have as many redeeming qualities or parts that I find entertaining. There's some action scenes that are great, like the scene after Snoke is killed and Kylo Ren and Rey are fighting sort of like back to back against the Imperial Guards. That scene I think is good, but there's a lot of that film that I had to go back and look at, and I was like, there's the casino stuff that is really boring. There's a lot of this film that I just find very forgettable.
Yeah.
There's other films on this list that have got some things that I don't know bad, but I do remember them, and that's key.
Wow, yeah. I don't know if remembering them is going to be a fair judgment, though, because we've also seen the older films more.
True.
So, like, I can remember Phantom Menace a lot because of when it came out. So I watched it a lot. But that doesn't mean I'm remembering it because it's so good.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? Speaking of which, in my number 9th position, The Phantom Menace.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Not a fan of all those trade talks.
I'm really not. Star Wars and politics do go hand in hand. I get it, but I don't necessarily want to see it, especially as a kid. And this one happened to come out right when I was in like prime Star Wars watching time. Yeah. And so, yeah, when you go and you're like, oh man, a bit of a snooze fest here.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I don't sense anything.
I don't really like young Anakin. He is a bit whiny. I don't think he deserved the very harsh criticism that he received.
Absolutely not.
Still, he's not a super interesting character. And all the stuff with like pod racing, it's all just a bit
Okay.
You know?
Fair call.
That's all I got to say. It's
Not even the last little portion of that film enough to save it for you?
You mean when Jake Lloyd's in the yellow ship and he's like, now this is pod racing.
Literally something I say on a daily basis.
But it's not pod racing.
No.
So why does he say it? Like, now finally we're doing some pod racing.
Finally, like, I can actually be a really good pilot.
Yeah, nah.
Fair call. Okay.
Nah, not for me.
Number 8 for me. We're continuing in a similar time period, and we're going with The Rise of Skywalker.
Also my number 8.
Okay,
so let us just chat back and forth.
Yeah. There's parts of this film that are insane. It feels like an incredible course correction after Last Jedi, and it's almost...
It swings back way too far the other way.
And that's a big issue with it. The last part of this film, thematically and narratively, I don't really love as much. Does it look cool? Hell yeah. It looks pretty good. I mean, I like the whole battle over the Sith planet. I mean, everyone jokes about the fact that, somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's back. And I mean, like, Ian McDiarmid, I think, is, like, good again in the role, of course. I think he genuinely looks quite creepy.
He definitely does.
Particularly when he's introduced and you get that lightning flash, basically just sort of showing him on screen for the first time. The best parts of all the three of these films for me is Adam Driver's performance as Kylo Ren, because it feels like he's the only character that has some sort of arc between the three films.
There's bizarre choices in this film, and it makes it very hard to enjoy even good moments in it because I'm so infuriated by the choices that were made. And I can totally respect that it's not J.J. Abrams' fault. Had you given him a trilogy and he could kind of take the three films to shape that, then it might have turned out very different. But just like lots of fetch quests.
So many MacGuffins in this film.
Yeah, so many. The whole thing with just undoing what Rian Johnson had done. And I've got a lot of criticism for Rian Johnson coming up too, for undoing what J.J. Abrams had set up in The Force Awakens as well. So both of them I'm not pleased with for doing that, but once the decision had been made, stick to it.
Yeah.
Stop flip-flopping, because then...
Like, just make a call. Yeah.
Exactly, because then none of the things that are set up as narrative possibilities in either of the preceding films in this one get any sort of a payoff.
Nope.
It's very, very upsetting, and nothing kind of plays out how you want it to. Everything just kind of randomly happens and then gets tied up in a neat little package. It's weird. It's odd, and I was very annoyed by it. Also, the thing in the film that had the most weight to it was the death of Chewbacca, and then they completely undo it afterwards. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad Chewie's alive, but stop doing things that you're like, look how impactful this is.
Lol
and
jokes.
then, this one makes me angry.
Yeah, I think to watch them as a whole package, I haven't done that. So I think I'd like to do that and see, potentially where my rankings might change. In my number 7 spot, though, I get the third of these films. So The Force Awakens
Oh, okay, wow.
sits in at number 7.
Yikes, so you really didn't like any of these. I get it, because if you want to watch it as a trilogy, once some of them are bad, then it kind of ruins the whole thing.
And this is why this sits
that.
higher for me, because I remember watching this and feeling pretty gassed about Star Wars again. Like, I went and saw this. It came out in December around my birthday. I went and saw this. My mum and I really both love Star Wars, so I went and we were really excited to go see this together. And maybe because it's slightly similar to another Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I had like a lot of affinity with this film, but again, like what's set up in this film was interesting for me to find out more about. Like, I was interested about Kylo Ren. I thought Finn's story is... That's the biggest letdown of the next two films, because I really wanted more of his character continue to get fleshed out, because he's so interesting. The fact that you get a stormtrooper taking off their mask and they are a person in this film, like, cool, let's go with this. I'm really down for what happens. Yeah,
they really, like, his storyline peters out very quickly in the sequels.
Yeah, and I don't know, I feel like there's there's obviously a lot of nostalgia in this film, and I mean, judging by my rankings and what films I haven't talked about yet, nostalgia plays a very big part, and I can't take that out of my experiences with Star Wars. It's impossible. But I think that there's just really good elements to this film. I like the action set pieces. I like how Rey's introduced. That's really good fun. And again, this is a character who's still trying to find her way, so she's not like sort of a perfect pilot by any means and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Harrison Ford's really good in this. Like, the scene with him and Adam Driver is really fantastic.
That's because they don't undo it.
No, and like they have it's probably one of the only good parts, I think, of Rise of Skywalker, when they have a bit of a communication or whatever it is.
Yeah, it is odd though that he's a Force ghost, because like I thought that was exclusive.
He's not Force sensitive, so yeah, it's a bit weird. Anyway, midi-chlorians.
That's not how the Force works.
Yeah, looking at it in isolation, I think it's still like a good, fun Star Wars film, and I don't know, it got people back interested in Star Wars, so...
Yeah, fair enough. My number, what was that, number 7?
7, yes.
My number 7 is The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And for all the reasons that I kind of outlined for The Rise of Skywalker, I didn't like the flip-flopping.
Please don't go this way.
No, you're still holding on!
However, I do think that there are aspects of this film that are good. I'm really torn about the idea of Luke being...
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
that kind of a character, and what he does and the guilt that he feels for even thinking about trying to kill Kylo Ren. I'm really torn about that. I like the idea of him being flawed. I like the idea of him being beaten down, but I just don't know that because he almost killed a kid and his nephew too is the right way to go about that.
After forgiving his father basically for acts that actually happened, not acts that might happen basically in his future, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's upsetting, but I do think that I forgive this film a lot more because I know there's another film after it. So when it ended, I'm like, okay, well, all right, we'll see what happens. Whereas the reason The Rise of Skywalker is so disappointing is you go, that's it. You're like, oh, that's a real shame. There are some cool things. I really like the idea of Luke fighting as a Force ghost. That's very cool, but I didn't think he should have died. Having Han die in the previous one, and then having Luke die in this one.
And then unfortunately, obviously, Carrie Fisher passes away.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't necessarily agree with that decision, and I would love to have seen more training with Rey.
Because you get introduced to this new Luke Skywalker in one movie, and he's gone that same movie. You just don't get enough time with this new character, and I think that's that would have really 100% sort of brought Last Jedi up for me if they probably fleshed that out a little bit more. But I know it's not his film.
Yeah,
it's his saga, but
but it was his film, right? But
if they still were trying to do all these other things, maybe more Luke time and less casino. Could have been good.
Oh my god, the casino. Yeah, when you brought that up.
With Benicio del Toro.
I was like, oh.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real slog. It's a real slog.
And then the young boy who's sweeping at the end with the Force. Can't wait for that plot line to get resolved.
What do you have at number 6, Mr. Blue?
Number 6, I have The Phantom Menace. So, again, nostalgia plays a big part with this film, but there's still parts of this film I just really enjoy. Okay. I really like Gungan City as a visual.
You and nobody else.
Oh well, that's fine. I like underwater scenes in movies.
I've never understood that. We had this conversation when you watched Thunderball, and I was like, yuck.
Yeah. So I really like. I don't love every part of it, but I like sort of with the there's always a bigger fish and that whole sort of scene.
Yeah, that's good. The relationship between Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson is great.
The chemistry is very good there. The pod racing stuff I really enjoy, even if narratively it probably takes a little bit too much of the film. And Darth Maul was one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. Again, this is maybe more based on what happens after Phantom Menace, because I really like how Darth Maul's presented in the Clone Wars, in further sort of Star Wars material, particularly when Sam Witwer takes on the role. He does a really good job voicing him, and that whole fight scene is really cool.
Okay, I respect it.
That's fine.
I respect it. My number 6 is Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
That's good news.
And I have really fond memories of watching Attack of the Clones, especially when it got to the part where they're in the big amphitheater. So first you have Anakin on the
conveyor belts and stuff like that. Yep.
And that's very cool.
That feels like a video game.
Yeah, it really does. Well, they probably made it just with the video game in mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is going to make a great level on a video game on 4 different platforms.
Ooh, baby. But then the whole, them fighting the monsters while they're quipping.
Then we decided to come and rescue you. Good job.
So many quips.
So many quips. Then it has some sluggish moments as well. The angsty Anakin stuff is frustrating. The dialogue's poorly written. And I will say, I don't think it is Hayden Christensen's fault.
Hell no.
He's not the best with some of his delivery, but have you just read those lines?
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
What can you do with that? It's not inspired writing.
Oh,
I like the darker moments of Anakin in this. I like the bounty hunter chase at the start.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Very cool.
The whole assassination attempt with Zam Wessel.
Whip some slugs across the room with your lightsaber.
Exactly. That's good fun. The reintroduction of Padme and Anakin, sort of again, even though we watched a film where there was a very clear age gap between these two characters.
I would say that the romantic dialogue between them is pretty similar to the feeling you get between Bella and Edward in Twilight. Just like really awkward.
Yeah.
He comes on very strong.
Oh,
and
yeah, incredibly.
She's like, no thanks.
Please don't look at me like that.
Why not?
It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Sorry, milady.
And then
You're a
just
child.
at one point in the film, she's just like, you know what, I'm into it now.
Yeah, it just like completely changes. Particularly after he's like killed all the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm
she's
attracted
like,
to this
she's
guy.
like, whoa, I didn't know you had it in you. She digs the bad boys.
Yes, killing all, not just the men, but the women and the children too.
Yeah. What do you got in your number 5 position?
Well, the film you just talked about. So,
Oh, there you go.
so Attack of the Clones, yeah, it's just still like a film that I hold a fair bit of nostalgia for. Again, there's parts of this film I really like. I really like the Camino setting and the fight between Obi-Wan and Django there. That's sick. I really love that fight.
Oh, yeah. Where he kicks him off and then he's like,
Yeah.
That's so good.
I really like how much this fight establishes Jango Fett.
It's good that they establish how thick his New Zealand accent is.
100%.
Love it.
He's just a simple man trying to make his way through the
That's
universe.
We'll have to try something more subtle this time, Sam.
I mean, Christopher Lee is brilliant as Count Dooku.
Yes,
I really
but
enjoy.
It's awkward watching him fight.
I agree with that. In terms of like everything up until that, I
Yeah.
think is really good and very menacing. You've got Flippy Yoda.
You got Mace Windu,
And when we get the
chopping
debut of the
ahead.
purple lightsaber,
Yeah, it's
which
pretty
is
rad.
pretty damn awesome. And yeah, he just straight up decapitates Jango Fett.
Yeah, you gotta love that. My next one, Revenge of the Sith,
Okay.
at number 5. And this is where I start going, these are good films. These are good films.
Yep.
I really like Revenge of the Sith. I think it starts off really well with the space battle.
Yeah.
I like the whole rescuing Palpatine thing.
Yep.
Like Anakin chopping off Dooku's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also there's some like good action, but then whimsy as well. Like they're making jokes.
Chancellor Palpatine, Sith Lords are our speciality.
I like how dark it gets. I do think that the justification behind it could have been done better, but for Anakin, it's like, what have I done? Oh, well, I better turn completely evil now.
I've committed now.
Yeah, it's odd, like, because he doesn't believe in aspects of the Jedi, and I like that kind of comes in, and you're like, oh yeah, I could see how that would turn him against it. But then he's going off and killing kids.
It happens very quickly.
Yeah. I wish they'd kind of spaced that out better throughout this trilogy, but there's just some really great things. And Obi-Wan is in peak form.
Oh, yeah.
Hello there.
You know we've done Revenge of the Sith on the podcast before. If you haven't seen it, go back and check it out.
Dude.
It's basically me saying all the things I love about it and Whittle saying all the things he hates about it. It's good fun. But yeah, so that's affectionately in my number 5 position.
Okay. Moving on to my number 4 is Episode 4, A New Hope.
Whoa.
Yeah, so the first Star Wars film sits at number 4 for me.
Mate.
So, yeah.
Mate.
Yeah, this is where probably my list starts to look a little bit differently than some other people.
Bold.
Yeah.
Bold.
There's
choice.
parts of this film that I like. I still think it's a classic. It's iconic because it starts off the franchise. It sets up a lot of these tropes that we know and love. Maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for some good fight scenes and everything like that. I'm not sure. Maybe just tonally of the film. I'm not sure. But there's just parts of it that maybe feel like other films have done a little bit better. And
You've left a bad taste in my
oh,
mouth.
that's okay. It's basically like, which do I like watching the most now? And that doesn't rank as highly as the next 3 films.
Yeah, look, fair. Totally fair. Because in my number 4 position, I have The Force Awakens.
Okay.
And that is because, for me, The Force Awakens was like it's like a new hope again.
Yeah.
And familiar faces, a fun, familiar storyline that felt safe, arguably a little too safe, but I really enjoyed it. The battles were great. The devastation of losing my favorite Star Wars character, Han Solo, was so powerful.
100%.
Like, it was bold that they decided to do that. Also, just all the stuff with him in it, like the banter is back, and that's what I really thought the prequel series was missing. Like, there is some funny bits, like I mentioned, from Revenge of the Sith.
But not consistently enough through the film.
Correct. Whereas in the original trilogy, it was always there. And so for me, it really felt like a return to form. I was so excited to see this at the movies. I loved it. And it's part of the reason why the other two are so disappointing, because I was on such a high, so keen. I was doing that thing where I'm updating my phone when you see trailers are going to get released for The Last Jedi. And it was such a step down
Yeah, I agree.
to see that afterwards. So I really love The Force Awakens. Great characters. I loved the introduction of the new characters as well, those three. What they do with them after this film is very disappointing, but they are set up to have potentially really good storylines in that
it's
first
like,
one.
hey, I'm intrigued to see how all these like character stories like exist individually and how they go together, and how they exist in this new world of Star Wars.
Yeah, we haven't really mentioned Poe.
No,
Poe's a great character.
yeah.
Oh, no?
I don't mind
He's
him.
like the new Han.
He is, but like I would have rathered some more Finn than Poe.
He's really good in the first one, and then...
And the character's written awfully after that.
Correct. Right you are.
Number 3 is Empire Strikes Back. So the film we've just spent a long time talking about.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so...
Too long even.
Yeah, potentially.
Who knows?
We do, because we're looking at it.
Yep, too long. Too long.
Again, a film I really like. The darker tone of this film, introducing Boba Fett. Really good action scenes in this film. And again, I think that was actually one thing that I probably forgot how good it was. Like, just the action in that fight between Vader and Luke. Like a borderline perfect action sequence. So, yeah, I really like
with the grunts?
Especially with the grunts. So this film I still really, really like. However, I like what it sets up for the next film more, which is why Empire is sitting lower.
The next film being Return of the Jedi, which is in my third spot.
Lovely.
So I really like Return of the Jedi. It used to be my favorite when I was a kid.
We talked about this, yeah.
Yeah, these three, it's tricky. It is really tricky, and part of the reason why I want to do a rewatch is that I wonder if I revisited them, if I'd see them in a different light. Like, with the exception of Empire, I'm doing the rest of them based on memory.
Yep.
And that's a little spotty on some of these. But,
okay.
Return of the Jedi I used to really love, especially for the opening, the whole thing in Jabba's palace. I had that as a Lego set too.
Me too.
Badass. That's really cool. Probably another one I used to reenact somehow with a dressing gown cord.
With the head nodding.
Yeah, head nodding. And when I did it, I would have done it to the original music. That's one of my biggest pet peeves about Return of the Jedi, that all my favourite songs are gone. Yeah. It's a bummer. I just think that there are some moments that are a bit tedious in this, especially once we hit the Ewok planet.
Yeah.
That gets a little slow, even though there is some good stuff with Han breaking into the place and like his relationship with Leia and all of that, and it still, to me, just can drag a little bit in that part of the film.
Okay.
And I also am not super fond of the fact that Luke is now an expert Jedi, even though he never finished his training. Another big gripe I have with Rey later on as well, that she's just an expert already.
Yeah, he's got like total mastery of the Force.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like, the characters he's doing that to are not exactly the most strong-willed.
No, that's true,
like
but
Gamorrean guards and Bib
the only
Fortuna.
times that he's used it previously, he kind of fluked it, and now he's an expert without having any guidance as to...
Exactly, because it's like, oh, how much time has passed, and like, how good has he gotten?
Well, this is the thing, like, time has passed, but
he hasn't
didn't
trained
want
with
to
Yoda.
go back to Yoda? Like, yeah, I don't know.
No, that's fair enough.
Anyway, I'll let it slide. Return of the Jedi, sitting in number 3.
That's my number 2 film, Return of the Jedi.
There you go.
So, again, my favorite probably Star Wars movie when I was a kid, and it still holds up as one of my favorites now. I think the Death Star...
Wait.
Yeah, you've done your math. The Death Star 2 battle is, I think, the best space combat scene in Star Wars. I find that really... you can't recover. Really, really enjoyable above Endor. I really like Lando piloting the Falcon. You've got Nien Nunb, one of the alien characters who's
Monkey Man.
Yeah, who's like alongside Lando. You've got Wedge. That whole act, I just think it's shot really well. I love how you sort of you're crisscrossing back between the battle on Endor, trying to like blow up the shield generator. You're crisscrossing back with Vader and Luke going at it, with the Emperor just sort of like sitting in the background, watching it all play out. I really love how quickly it's moving between those three things. I think the fight between Luke and Vader is really interesting. You get really good resolution in that fight.
You do get resolution.
And you don't get that in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
You get this really perfectly in this film, like, even if it's a little bit creepy, the fact that they're having the party scene at the end and they're using Stormtrooper helmets as percussion.
I love it.
It's like, those Ewoks are crazy.
Do you think the Stormtroopers' heads are still in there?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Even if you're getting some like funny dancing from all the characters during that. Han's like, oh, yep, Luke, of course. And he's like, oh, that's my competition. And Leia's like, no, it's not like that. It's my sister. And Han's look on his face is like...
Because he's thinking back to the kiss.
It is, and someone's done that with like a flashback.
Oh, that's amazing.
He's my brother.
Yeah, look, I would not have held it against you if this was in your top spot. I am going to hold it against you for what it actually is. In my number 2 place, The Empire Strikes Back. Clearly, I loved it through the discussion today.
Yep.
I thought it might jump ahead, and again, maybe it will swap around as I watch. Stay tuned on Letterboxd. You'll see my list flip-flopping. But I do really like it. Just not quite enough as A New Hope. So the way that the franchise kicks off with A New Hope is awesome.
Yep.
And as I said, one of the things that I love most about Star Wars are the characters and how they interact and the kind of witty dialogue and stuff like that. Han talking to people on the radio, pretending to be a stormtrooper, is amazing. We're fine. How are you?
Yeah.
It's a boring conversation anyway. Look, we're gonna get some company. He's so good. Like, he's constantly on. I love all the explanation when Obi-Wan is telling him about his dad and like gives him the lightsaber, even if it does have a weird cut in it. I love how dark it is with his uncle and aunt just getting burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, strap skeletons out there and like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it's full on. I like the kind of young character of Luke when he's first introduced.
Very boyish.
I was going to go and pick up some power converters.
Yeah, like I want to go like race speed, like my T16.
I just wanted to go to Toshi Station.
Yeah. Little T16 Skyhopper. Yeah.
So yeah, I love that, and I like that we go on the journey with him into this like magical world.
I think the best part of New Hope, and this is still my measuring stick for like sci-fi films and franchises. I think New Hope is like one of the best like first entrants in terms of like world building for anything. Like I don't feel, and again, this is like now like in retrospect, like looking at it from someone who's watched Star Wars and knows Star Wars, but even when I talk to people and they watch New Hope, they get what's happening. It's like, obviously they didn't know like how much they were going to push and what it was going to become, but the fact that you can watch it, you understand what's going on, you don't feel like...
It's because of the crawl.
Oh, exactly. How else would you know? You put text in the front of the movie. But it feels like, I don't know, it's just a really good balance. Compared to another sci-fi franchise that you have a particular feeling about, I feel like there's just, like in that film, there's so much going on, I find it really hard to sort of keep up with. Star Wars does the perfect amount of like, okay, we're not going to play too dumb to you, but we're also not like going too far the other way, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So...
You've got some explaining to do, mister.
So number 1, I've got Solo, a Star Wars story.
I mean, you might as well have. No, look, it's not that bad. I had it ranked quite high on my list, but...
I've got Revenge of the Sith as my favourite Star Wars movie.
To put that above the original trilogy.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know, like... giving it some context, like I saw this film, 2005 it came out. I was, in grade 6 at primary school, so I was finishing up primary school. And I remember going to see this. I saw it multiple times in the cinema. And it felt like, I don't know, like, again, this is sort of a thing, like with, I don't know, that's era of Star Wars finishing and me going into high school. It felt like the end of an era. Like, I don't know. So again, that's a feeling that I sort of associate with this film a little bit. But there's just parts of this I find really brilliant. Like there's like the opening starfighter scene, like just the banter between Anakin and Obi-Wan is really fun. There's parts of this film that really can sometimes really get into a slog. But I just like the fact we finally get into Anakin becomes Darth Vader and how we get there. I kind of sort of understood how it was going, but
The no? How do we feel about the no?
the no.
As in, once he's Darth Vader. No.
I don't like it. Like it's really cool. Like the shot when he like rises up and stuff, great. As soon as he starts being Darth Vader, not great.
How did that get approved?
Yeah, I don't know. And particularly like considering how good, like how much better Hayden Christensen was when he came back in Obi-Wan, the series.
He was good. We underestimated his power.
We truly did. We truly did. But yeah, I don't know. Just again, probably nostalgia plays the biggest part with this film for me. But I think the action scenes are really good. I really love the chase between Grievous and Obi-Wan. That's really fun.
On their little bikes.
Yeah, on the bike, and then Obi-Wan's on like the iguana-looking thing. I think Order 60.
Try and make that noise.
No.
Oh, you almost went for it. I almost had you.
Almost did. And then Order 66, I think, is just like a devastating thing to watch.
That's a great montage.
The score in that is brilliant.
Yeah.
I think the music, sometimes everyone focuses on the score in the original trilogy, and deservedly so, because those themes are awesome. But there's music, particularly in Revenge of the Sith, that I think is like really moving. There's some of my favorite scores to play when I was a kid as a French horn player. And yeah, like the music when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting, it like when it sort of shifts from being like quite dramatic to being, quite sad. And and that whole, I think the choreo, how well the final battle between those two was just choreographed sort of excellently.
Yeah, 100%.
Regardless of, the high ground finish or not. But yeah, I like it. It feels cool that we kind of like get up to a point where, I don't know, the prequels finished and I felt like I'd caught up to where my mum started watching Star Wars and my family watched Star Wars. And it sort of like ties it into a little bit of a bow.
I won't hold it against you.
That's
that
okay.
You've got that as your number one pick, but it was a shock. I had to recover. I've made peace with it. If I can't sleep tonight, that's on you. But it's a big win
He's
for you.
done it!
He's done it. It's just you outside the window. Yes.
This is my Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
That's
it sure
fine.
is. But I always find this interesting that we had far more discrepancies then than we had for Spider-Man. Yeah, we were pretty much on the same page for Spider-Man.
We were.
So
Till we got
this
to
is
the pointy
good.
end.
This is good, but it does make it easy when we're on the same page, because then when we're reading them out, we can just discuss them together.
Yep.
Here, I'm like, I better not talk about that yet, because I'm going to talk about that next. So just see.
So it looks like Nick's
say.
going to turn that next. Oh, it's not next. No, it's in 4 more films.
Yeah. So you will have to tell us, listeners, if this is a segment you do like and you do want us to return to.
Yep.
This has been a long podcast. I will edit a bunch of this down. And edit it down, I did. Now, this was just one segment from our weekly Fifth Period podcast, so if you are looking for more Star Wars content, check out the playlist for our full episodes on The Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith. Plus, we have a brand new episode coming out this week on A New Hope. Otherwise, if you're after more ranking videos, we've got a separate playlist for that I will be periodically adding to. So remember to subscribe to stay up to date with future content and comment with any rankings you'd like us to do next time. Thank you very much for the continued support, guys, and may the Force be with you.